All right. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new podcast, Resource Potential. In this podcast, we talk to and share the stories of professionals spanning a variety of industries. You get to learn about the businesses they run or are part of, as well as gain some valuable advice on how you can take that forward into your business or career. Now, a little bit about ReSourceYYC. We are a co-working space for professionals in downtown Calgary, offering private offices, dedicated desks, meeting spaces, and unique drop-in plans. We also offer virtual office services for those needing a professional mailing address. So if you're in the west end of downtown, come and check us out. Now I'll turn it over to Ron to talk to our special guest today, Sandy McGrath.
Thanks, Shelby. And yeah, I'd encourage anyone who's either looking for a space, working from home, and just wants to have a real office to work from, or just a home base, come check ReSourceYYC out. Part of ReSourceYYC is about the community of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial companies, and we're very fortunate today actually to talk to Sandy McGrath. Sandy's with Final Frontiers. We've known each other for a while, Sandy, but we've never actually got to talk much about your company. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thanks for joining us, Sandy.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you. And yeah, I was realizing when you sent me this that it's been about 8 years now almost that we've been hanging out.
Exactly. So Final Frontiers is one of the members of ReSourceYYC and have been doing some great work. In fact, it's interesting because ReSourceYYC has changed locations, and then actually, so Final Frontiers have gone with us, but Calgary's changed so much in the last 7 years that it's probably not even the same world as when we first met.
Yeah, it's it's funny to think about when we started back at the brick office on McLeod, and now we're in the new building on the other side of downtown, and all the changes and everything that's taken place in the last 7 years.
Yeah, and Sandy's been with the company for quite a while. So why don't we start out? Let's talk a bit about yourself, Sandy. What's your background and how you ended up eventually at Final Frontiers?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Prince Edward Island. I moved out here in 2005. Kind of probably the same story you've heard a million times. I came out, there was job opportunities and better quality of life opportunities. So I moved out, and then basically worked a few different jobs, got to Final Frontiers around 2011. Started off as an analyst for the company, and just took advantage of the opportunities of training, coaching, mentoring from Bill and other people that were within Final Frontiers, and worked my way up. About 2017, I finished my SATE business certificate, and then took over as operations manager in 2018, and haven't looked back since. And been Final Frontiers now for 12 years as of April 1st.
Wow. And sorry, I got a background call here coming in. Yeah, and during that time, I mean, what a time to be there, because Calgary went through the downturn. I mean, not only were you with the company growing, but the whole world churned a bit through there. So maybe actually tell us a bit about Final Frontiers and how you guys have evolved with all the changes going on.
Yes, so I think you make up a great point. I think 2011 when I joined, we were in the tail end or in the recovery period of the 2008-2009 downturn. So the company had shrunk down to, I think, 3 or 4 staff, and we've grown it back up to, I think, 7. I think we're at now, or 7 or 8. I think the company originally started in the late 90s. I think it was an adventure tourism company. Bill, so there's nothing. Everybody asks me all the time. They're like, Final Frontiers, is this, are you guys a bunch of Trekkies, or is it all about Star Trek? It actually has nothing to do with Star Trek. It's the way Bill explained it to me is it was an adventure tourism company. He took people to get past their final frontier. So if you were afraid of spiders, he'd work with you to work your way up to having one crawl on you. If you're afraid of heights, he'd work his way up to getting you to skydive. He had a computer sciences background, so I guess in the end of the 90s, he decided to take the website, the domain, all that stuff, and turn it into an IT company. And so they had been an IT company since the late 90s.
Well, that's so, I talked to so many entrepreneurs and startup companies and how you have to pivot, but actually I didn't know that. And that is an amazing pivot. So, but you're pretty well established. I don't think anybody comes to you for adventures now, do they?
No, I haven't been asked to. Thank goodness nobody asked me to help with skydiving because they'd have to help me first.
Virtual, maybe virtual.
I've done a virtual one before, and it's kind of
Uh,
still unnerving.
so with that twist in the companies, clearly the target audience has changed since the beginning, but now you guys are fully entrenched in the IT service and support world. Who are your target clients?
Yeah, so I mean, I think our our target client really hasn't changed a great deal since I've started. We've always focused on entrepreneurial spirited ownership. And one of the things that's always, amazed me specifically about being in Calgary, but just working with entrepreneurs is how they look for opportunities at the worst of times. So, when they're when the things are, downturn in their industry or their target client, are disappearing or having hard times, what always amazes me and why I love working with entrepreneurs is that they'll look at what they have and what services and support and what they have, and they look for other opportunities and not just in their own industry. We've seen entrepreneurs take their products and services and pivot and do something completely different, but with the same people, same capital, same equipment. And that's the great part about working with entrepreneurs is they usually don't just take things lying down. They're looking for how they can do better, grow, take care of people, and it's always fun. You never really get bored.
So what does that mean? What kind of support do you give an entrepreneur? I'm assuming that some of these people don't have any IT background or or any time. So you guys must step in and play a big role with startup companies and growing companies.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I've made a few important business contacts myself over the years, and one of our clients, I was talking to him about a month ago, and we realized that I think this is startup number 4 we've helped him with.
Wow.
And so he had a company, started it up, grew it to about 40 people, sold it, started another company, grew it to about 40 people, sold it, and now he's doing another completely different, not an oil and gas business. And he called me last February and said, "Hey, you've third time's the charm. You've helped me every other time with growing and setting up the business. You guys always know what I need. You're here to help me and support." And when we're focusing on things like, I tell everybody we focus on what's success to their business, so we're helping them and we work to understand what is success to them, because what's success to them may not be success to everybody in that industry or that vertical. So if you understand what's success to them, you can understand how they're thinking, what's important to them, what you have to do or put in place to help them meet that target. And that's the fun part about working with, the different entrepreneurs we have over the years is you build those relationships and you understand and see things, and then you inherently become a bit of an entrepreneur yourself because you have to look for opportunities and ways to help them grow their business.
So, well, that's interesting because, well, one is no wonder you're such a good fit at Resource YYC because it's all entrepreneurial people, and whether it's a consultant, a one person, or multiple people, or a growing company. But so every startup is different. However, do you have a bit of a methodology or a bit of a standard way you approach companies and kind of what kind of service you get for companies that are starting up? It's kind of all over the map, but you must add some stability in your approach and methodology for them. What do you guys do that's unique?
Typically, whenever we're working with startups and because we've had the good fortune of working, with yourself and all the different partners that you guys have brought in with Resource YYC over the years, um, you get a sense of kind of what people need as a base to just keep things going.
Yeah,
And once you can make sure that things are stable and running, and there's just certain basics like, you know, just having their email licensing and that set up properly, um, their Office 365 licensing and services so that it fits the needs of their business, and help explain to them how to not pay more than what they need to, but don't scrimp and save on things that are going to give them
yeah.
features and services or create instability in their environment. I think that's one of the key things and you've probably know this better than I ever will, but if you're working too much, in the business, you're not getting out there and growing it and doing the things you need to grow it. So if you're constantly working on stability problems because of what's happening in your environment, you're eventually just gonna, death by a thousand cuts kind of thing.
Yeah, well, there's two things. You have missed opportunities, and actually, um, there's risk. If you don't have someone managing that, then you actually have a risk that you're not paying attention to as well. So, the what you said, a couple things that actually totally resonate with me. When you're a startup, having a company that understands startups knows that you don't necessarily have to do everything at once. You have to be doing the important things now and having people around you that anticipate what the next things you have to do. So you're always focusing on the priorities. So it sounds like in the IT world, that's really what you guys offer as a service is critical things now that needs to be done and anticipating what problems are going to be in the future.
Yeah, one of the things I love, one of the biggest things that I love about Final Frontiers that, I never did at any of the other IT companies I work for. Um, and it's become pretty standard across the industry, but you don't get the full value of them unless you have a really good relationship and partnership, is the quarterly business reviews where when we're talking with clients and we're talking about strategy and how, like, what are your plans in 1 to 3 to 5 years, and how can we help you get there? And the fun part about it is when we actually are bringing things to the table that we think will help them meet those goals that they haven't thought of, or we're saying like, look, we're seeing this in your industry where this software or service or um, potential regulations coming down the pipe that you should prepare for because it could be, expensive, or it could change a lot of your business processes, or even helping them write things like policies and business processes and that affects their business. When you're in that relationship and you're able to have those conversations with people, and you're not talking about like, hey, why doesn't my second monitor ever stay on or something like that, like it's completely different business relationship. And when you're there, it's a lot of fun as an IT company because
Yeah.
you get to talk about strategic projects that are helping them grow their business, and when they grow, you grow.
So that's a great segue because I wanted to know, especially startups are so busy, head down, just focus on what's there. But what are some emerging or really critical risk topics or things that are coming up that small businesses and startups should be aware of and that you guys have helped out with?
Yeah, I think most businesses in the last couple of years have probably seen quite a change in terms of cyber and business insurance and how that's kind of dictating a lot of their investment or things that they have to have in place. And that's something that I think a lot of businesses are they're still navigating because it changes quite often. um, you know 2 3 years ago, cyber insurance was just an add-on to your business insurance.
Yeah.
You checked a box, you got cyber insurance. Now, we're helping clients understand and navigate when they're getting an outside pen test with security audits that are coming back and saying, you need to look at these things, or do you have these things in place? And we've seen clients, miss out on RFPs because they didn't have email testing for their staff, for example, and they didn't realize. So they lost out on like a $2 million bid because they didn't have a service in place that they didn't think was important. So, um, you know, I think that's some of the key things is understanding in terms of how much money you have to set aside for dealing with disaster recovery, having the right services that meets all your business insurance and how that's going to keep you. Um, it's not so much a cost. A lot of clients that we see now, they're seeing it as a way to sell their business. They are more secure than others. They are the right people to partner with because they take these things seriously, and that's a great place to be, rather than trying to scramble last minute to make sure that your business has the right things in place to keep your business insurance so that you can keep doing work and get certified, or vetted so that you can continue to do things like RFPs or bid on work in your industry.
You know, well, I was going to ask you, so when you say all that stuff from, a owner or a manager, that seems a bit daunting and overwhelming, because you got all the other things you worry about. How do you guys help simplify that for companies? So all those things are risks and even actually opportunities lost because they don't have it in place. But are there ways that you guys can help make that simple and take the complication out for business owners?
Yeah, that's where we come in as the trusted partner, and we show them like, look, this is where our knowledge of all these different things can help make sure that you put the right services and systems in place so that you can say yes to these audits or assessments. Because, or if you can't say yes to it, these are the things you need to do so that you can say yes. And we have, I went through this with our team the other day, but we have we call it the security dashboard of all the different components of cyber insurance audits that we've seen across the industry, and we've seen even with partners and friends of mine down in the States that run significant IT companies. And we kind of share the cyber insurance forms that all the different clients are getting back so that we know, like, if this is what you're seeing now, you can probably expect to see this in your next one. And if you're not being asked this kind of stuff now, prepare to see it. And these are this is how you address this. And here's your project or your statement of work, or this is the service you need to have in place. And then when you do get asked, you can actually say, yeah, like I've had this in place the whole time. Um, we're going through things right now about being a preferred vendor for different cyber insurance companies in Canada, because we've worked with clients and been able to put the frameworks in place that they go through the insurance audits, and the insurance adjusters are like, wow, like this is great. You already have this done. You're not going to be difficult to reinsure or keep as a client because you've got this.
Well, that's, so not only you talk about how overwhelming it is to some companies, right, to deal with that, they literally would not have the exposure and knowledge that you guys have because of your network and experience. That's really unique. You always want to have something that differentiates you, but it sounds like your broad network of experience with companies and just within the industry really it adds value to every client you had.
We try. That's the goal.
Yeah.
We want to be that trusted partner.
Actually, I think some things that kind of measures that is you guys, both you personally and your company, have actually had some accolades about some of the work that you've done as well. So some awards. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm really, really lucky and fortunate. I've worked with some amazing guys and girls over the last, 12 years. And for the last 5, we've been one of the top 50 managed IT companies in Canada. I've been able to, I was a finalist for the Future Leader Under 40, one of the top 100 people in diversity, equity, and inclusion in technology was a really surprising one. I didn't know I was up for that one. I sat on cybersecurity boards for some of the largest technology companies in the world. Last year, I was able to speak as a panelist for the first time, which was wonderful at an event, large 3,500 person event, which was really cool to see. Um, those are just some of the, sat on CompTIA's inaugural North American executive board last year, which was really cool, and I got to work with different businesses all across the world on that one. So those are some of the ones that that we've been able to get, but the team ones have been the great ones because it involves everybody, and I'm really proud of the team for those ones.
That's excellent. Well, and it totally reflects all the stuff we talked about before of why you receive the awards because you're different, but it's also why you offer a service that's different to your clients as well, and uniquely qualified and unique experience. So, hey, thanks for talking about your company. Anything we didn't talk about that we should bring up while we're on a podcast?
No, I think, one of the fun things, or the things that I'm looking forward to in our new location is seeing more people come back into the space, and I'm looking forward to getting back to having a lot more people in ReSourceYYC, which is always fun. It's nice having friends around, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the summer. I think it's one of the things that's interesting now with Calgary specifically is the change in the technology landscape.
Yeah.
There's so much more technology companies moving in. and how that's changed. Like if you go down and, you know, 9th Ave, there's just a
Mhm.
whole string of technology hub buildings, and
Yeah.
seeing that kind of focus and investment and the events that are starting to come in, you know, even ourselves, we're starting a new conference in September.
Oh, excellent. Do you
So
want to speak to it? What is that?
it's
Yeah.
canitcon.ca. That's the website. And you know, I've been working with a number of people for the last 3 years on trying to bring bigger, better technology events to Canada, because typically there's just not very many, and they're not great.
Yeah.
The idea is that we wanted to bring really great world-class events to Canada. And a friend of mine, Daniel Mitchell from Edmonton, his IT company and his operations manager, Kerry Green, they they kind of also agreed and jumped on, and all three of us are working together. And September 24th to the 26th, we have a brand new Canadian conference. It's going to be in Banff. Registration, I think, actually opens on Monday next week. And
Oh,
then
excellent.
we've been able to use our contacts and friendships and relationships as best as possible to bring in vendors that I honestly never thought we would ever be able to get, but they jumped on board. And I think it talks to, I think, how much energy and excitement there is in Alberta right now towards technology, is how quickly these companies jumped on board and wanted to sponsor. And I think it's going to be an amazing event.
Well, that's exciting. It's exciting that you're kind of right in the middle of all that. So, and you mentioned the website, and we'll make sure we posted it well. And if anybody wants to actually contact Final Frontiers, how do they do that?
Yeah, so we have you know, you can always contact Sandy at finalfrontiers.net. We have our phone line 403-234-0160. Finalfrontiers.net is the website. And anytime anybody ever needs anything, or they just want to, you know, ask some questions or need some kind of advice on anything, you can reach out anytime.
Excellent. And I'll kind of wrap up by saying, Sandy and Final Frontier spent a lot of time downtown when nobody else was downtown during the whole pandemic. We appreciate that, and it was some pretty lonely days downtown Calgary. So I'm with you. It's nice to see people coming back in our new location. We got some new people, and there's a bit of excitement. There's excitement with Final Frontiers and excitement at ReSourceYYC, building our community again after the slowdown, and it is fun downtown to see all the changes and technology happening. So thanks again, Sandy. I appreciate you taking the time to tell us a bit about
Thanks.
yourself and Final Frontiers.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to hang out with you, and I look forward to hopefully doing it again sometime.
Excellent. And Shelby, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sandy. I think that's such important information about cybersecurity and everything. It's just, I have to have those strong security systems in place now with everything being sort of online. But yeah, thank you for coming to talk with us. That was an amazing conversation.
Thank you for having me.